Hi guys, this is All Things Equine with RS, and I want to talk about what the equestrian sport really is all around the world. But before that, I'd like to give a brief introduction about myself. I am 18 years old and I've been riding since I was 10. So I'm from India and first started out riding at my school club. And my school, Mayo College Ajmer, had a very extensive polo and equestrian facility, and we had around 50 to 60 horses that were no, actually, we started out from around 40 when I was 10, and then when I was 18, when I left, it was almost about 65. So, yeah, I've really seen in my time at Mayo the club grow. And we didn't have a lot of sport horses. We, in fact, used to ride on X-race horses who were rehabilitated by our school, and you know, we did not buy them off. We got them for free, and they were basically donations to the school, and they were quite raw, untrained horses, and they weren't perfect for somebody who's just starting out to ride. But it taught me a lot about how to train horses from the very beginning, so I'm grateful for that. So I'm more of a show jumper and I love show jumping and everything about it. The thrill, the whole experience about show jumping, really, because what you do at home, training for show jumping, is very different to what you do at a competition. And the whole vibe and the whole atmosphere at a competition is completely different. So you don't know what course you're going to jump. You go, you walk it just 30 minutes before your class starts, and then you see other riders how they're riding it, and then you improvise on the course because anything can go wrong anywhere. Anyways, so we'll explore more about show jumping. And since this is the first episode of my podcast, I would like to start from the very beginning of what equestrian as a sport is really about, because this podcast is intended for anybody and everybody who don't and who do know about equestrian and are interested in it. So today we are going to explore the history of equestrian, and then we are going to talk about disciplines and how different disciplines have evolved with time and in different places around the world. So the origin of the sport can be traced as far back as ancient Greece, where dressage was developed as a way to prepare horses for war. And a lot of you might know that horses have been very crucial to human development in the ancient times, and society as we know it today has become what it is because of horses, I believe so. But if we talk purely about the sport, then the equestrian sport featured on the Olympics for the first time at the Paris 1900 Games, and then it was not a part of the next two games, and then it came back in 1912 in Stockholm, Sweden, and it has been very much a part of the Summer Olympics since then. Until 1948, only men could compete in the events as the riders had to be officers. And in 1951, they lifted this restriction, and in the Helsinki Games in 1952, women have competed with men in mixed events. A lot of you might know that only three Olympic disciplines exist today, namely jumping, dressage, and eventing, out of the seven FEI approved disciplines, which also include driving, endurance, reining, and vaulting. In fact, this was not the case in 1900. In 1900, jumping, high jump, long jump, hacks, and hunter combined, and male coach were the five disciplines that the Olympic Committee first introduced as equestrian, with eventing and dressage being introduced later on in 1912. And the dressage team event was not introduced till 1928. Figure riding and figure riding team was also a discipline introduced in 1920 in the Olympics, only for one time. Talking about another FA approved sport, driving, it can trace its roots back to Olympic competitions that were held in 680 BC when chariot races were introduced to the ancient Olympic Games. One can even argue that driving is the oldest equestrian sport to exist. But the modern driving sport is very much different to the chariot races back then. Today's sport is dominated by Boyd Excel, an Australian driver. He is the current 8-time FEI World Cup champion. And that's an amazing achievement because nobody in another discipline of equestrian has dominated the sport that way. So I find that very fascinating because in show jumping, the world number one changes every year. I haven't seen anyone hold the number one spot in show jumping for that long. Obviously, in dressage, we have Isabel Worth for Germany, who's competed at the Olympics 5 times in 10 events, and she's won a total of 10 medals, and 6 of them are gold. So she's really dominated the dressage sport at the Olympics, and she also holds the record for the most Olympic medals won by any equestrian athlete. I'm going to be doing a whole series on the top 10 riders in each discipline and also talking about the different leagues in each discipline and also a bit about polo and racing, which are not governed by the FEI. So guys, please stay tuned, share this as much as you can within the equestrian community and to other people who are interested in the sport and want to know more about it. And please do give your feedback. I am very open to feedback as I'm just starting out with this, so any kind of feedback, positive, negative, is encouraged. And I know this episode has been a lot more about facts, but I want to make this interesting and get more people on board and talk about other things as well. So please do send me your suggestions for anything that you feel might be the right kind of content for this, and let me know what you enjoyed about this episode.